Believe it or not, within the cool breeze of tonight's late September weather, you can almost feel the first hints of autumn breaking through the heat of Central Florida. Welcome back to our frequented CSX main line called the S line along the ex-ACL's AR line here in Dade City, Florida. We've made the drive out east on this Friday night to do some rail fanning along this portion of the S line, and while the reds at the south end Dade City signal told us nothing was in the vicinity, it wouldn't tell us of how great of a night it would turn out to be. Arriving just before dusk, the cool breeze and sunset would make for a nice setting to eat our dinner in. For anyone who's been watching this channel for over a month, you'll recognize this spot immediately. However, if you're new, this is Dade City, Florida, located about 25 miles north of Plant City and 40 miles south of Wildwood. For rail fans, this is the location for the 3-mile-long Dade City siding, hence the 2 tracks. We're set up right next to the Dade City Historical and Cultural Museum, which coincidentally is the old Atlantic Coastline's passenger and freight depot. Yes, this is the ACL, specifically their Lakeland to High Springs route that in the merger of the Seaboard and the ACL was consolidated to become a 14-mile stretch of S-Line that would conjoin Zephyr Hills to Owensboro, which is just south of Lacucci. However, that's another history lesson for another video. Watching the empty tracks grow dark as our daylight faded, we could hear CSX train IO44 calling signals around Vitus Junction, which is only 7 miles south of us, and with his high-priority intermodal and trail, he'd be here in minutes.
CSX, IO4423, locomotive CSX P7223, cleared south in Dade City, northbound.
With the rebuilt AC-44 number 7223 in the lead, this Tampa to Jacksonville hotshot of UPS trailers, JB Hunt, and a few Walmart containers would fly into the night. A friendly crew on board would also make the catch a little bit better. This train ran as IO-46 only a few weeks ago, and has had that 46 number prefix for years. But I guess for crews not to get confused with IO-46 and I-144 on Sundays, they changed it to IO-44. Just another semi-useless railroad change, but it's good to know. It would only be a few minutes after the passing of IO-44 that the dispatcher would give a northbound train signals out of a siding at night, which is just north of Plant City, all the way to Wildwood, where a meet was set for this mystery northbound to pass a southbound intermodal. Well, it's been a pretty slow night here in Dade City. We got that IO-44 going north, but we do have an IO-45 coming up at Wildwood and 442s at Valrico. But the train of the night, at least right now, is coming up by Central currently. It's an EO-1016. That's an empty Tampa coal train heading north. Now, I've never seen one of these and should be here in about 20 minutes. So yeah, that 442's at South End Valrico's got the 7505 in the lead. But we should have EO10 here in about 15 minutes, and then 442 in about 45 minutes, and then IO45 somewhere in between. Apparently, earlier in the day, a crew out of Tampa took this empty train north from TECO's Big Bend power plant to Knights, where they tied up the siding for a handful of hours. I guess they got a crew for it around 6 o'clock, and once they were aligned north, they booked it. It would take this train a mere 10 minutes to get from Vitus to us, and his solo Jivo leader would be roaring.
The CN 862 clear, south and Dade.
Our southbound would be nearing Wildwood as EO10 thundered north, so the dispatcher switched the meet to Bushnell siding. At about the same time, that M442 that was at Valrico 20 minutes ago would now be nearing Vitus, so another meet was set for 442 and 045 in the Vitus double track. With a freshly painted CSX 5256 in the lead, sporting the shiny YN3.com scheme, IO45 would be cruising north. You could tell that this train was the highest priority in the system, as it met 3 trains in the 2 hours before its arrival in Dade. Meeting IO44 in Wildwood, EO10 in Bushnell, and finally 442 at Vitus. This is the sister train of that IO44 we saw earlier, but the southbound version this time. Intermodal out of Jacksonville's Duval Yard to Tampa's Uceda Yard. This train runs down the Vitus sub and into Lakeland in order to take the A-line south into Tampa. Uceda is the ex-ACL's freight yard in Tampa, which is now repurposed for these intermodal trains. And finally, just before 10 p.m., M442 would be let loose from Ellerslie and continue his 270-mile northbound journey from Tampa to Waycross.
M442, 23, CSX 705, to South End City. Sign off.
Leading this train tonight would be yet another rebuild in some of the shiniest CSX paint I've ever seen. To my knowledge, 7505 has only been in YN3.com for 3 weeks now, and it really showed when he passed us. 186 cars would be powered by 2 locomotives tonight, the second being in the middle of the train as a distributed power unit, or DPU. 442 would be our last train of the night, as we still had a 40-minute drive home. It was just after 10 p.m. now, but for 3 hours of rail fanning, 4 trains isn't bad at all. So I hope you all enjoyed this night out in Dade City, but until we meet again trackside, this is Christian from Multicolor Films. End of transmission.